Okay, hello everyone. I am going to talk about this very famous piece by Clementi. It's the first movement of his first Sonatina in C major. I think it's one of the most played pieces in the last 2 centuries. So I am going to give you some very, I think, helpful tips to master this piece. So first of all, I would pretty much, I think I isolate the parts that are similar in terms of technical movements and stuff like that. So for instance, the first part that goes, right? So you have to land and then go up on the thumb, right? We have similar things on measure 5. Right? The same thing it happens again later on the second page in measure 24, but an octave lower. And in the middle section too, when we go. So we always do it like this, going down here and up on the thumb. That's going to be very helpful. So there are other things that usually give students some trouble, which is the descending part and measure 7. Well, it starts at the end of measure 6, which is this. Right? I would highly recommend if you block it first, with the correct fingering. By the way, a little disclaimer. In the score that I have here, it's a very old edition, and in old piano editions, the thumb was notated with that plus sign, and this was finger 1, 2, 3, and 4. Yeah, just so to let you know. But in any case, just follow the fingerings that I am doing or the ones that you have in your score. So we practice blocking the thirds, and then you can also practice doubling each pair of notes. And also using some rotation, yeah. There's a similar part at the very end, so that is from measure 37 onwards. Well, it's actually only measure 37, that you can use also some rotation. Right? A very important detail, when you rotate, try to keep the fingers very close to the keys, especially the thumb, which I've seen many students that the thumb is like pulling up. This creates a lot of tension and also gets in the way of the playing, and it kind of interferes with your dexterity. Good. There are other parts that sometimes give students some trouble, which is the Alberti bass that happens in measure 9. So here, this Alberti bass, right? We also use rotation, and I would highly recommend you to practice it holding the thumb, keeping it loose, and feel the arm weight on the lower notes. So you practice this for a few times, and then you get used to keeping the arm weight in this part of the hand and the thumb being lighter. And you see the thumb stays close to the keys. Same thing for the next Alberti bass, which is in measure 11. You also practice it holding the thumb, still doing some rotation. Yeah, the same thing could be applied to other parts that require rotation, which is measure 32 and of course 34. You hold this. You practice that for a few times, same thing here. And then you go, making sure that you hear this more than this, because this would get in the way of the playing. it would interfere with the flow if the thumb starts getting heavy. There's another rotation part, which is of course in measure 20 and 21, where there's this octave thing. I've seen many students, struggling with this because they don't open the hand from here. We always have to open the hand from here. Yeah? So don't try to open the hand from here. That creates a lot of tension and interferes with the flow. So same thing here, you could practice it holding the thumb and rotating outwards towards the pinky. And this could be good practice doing it hands together. You go, and that will also help the coordination. Something that is very helpful, especially if you have an electric keyboard, is that you turn the volume down and then you will only hear the mechanism, and then you will hear the coordination really well to see if it's fully synchronized. Okay, so I would say those are the parts that, I think we have to do with rotation. And then there's another section that I would like to talk about. So let's say measure 3 and 4. Here we have a little scale and then goes here. As you can see, my arm is following wherever the fingers go. So here the hand is steered kind of this way without, sticking out the elbow too much. And then you steer again down. Okay, so it goes. Yeah. Then the scales. So when we do the scales, make sure that the thumb is nicely prepared. Don't wait till the last moment. The thumb starts getting under. You go there, you finish the scale, and then you open the hand here. Then you close the hand again. I've seen some students that they do something that I call it finger anxiety. And it's like before you even finish the scale, the hand starts opening. And then that really interferes with the flow and the clarity of the sound. So you have to go, and then you open. And then you open again and close. So it's very important, this opening and close. We want to keep our hands closed as much as we can. Yeah? So in the next scale, we go and then close. Of course, the same thing happens later at the end of the piece. Then open. Same thing. Finish the scale, then open. So you have to practice slowly, making sure that you don't open the hand until you finish the scale, and then you open the hand. There are similar passages to this in which we have to follow with the arm, so that the arm has to follow wherever the fingers go. And let's go back to measure 12. So the hand follows wherever the fingers go. There's something here that some students struggle with, which is this repeated E. This has to be released very smoothly and very quickly. Very lightly as well. Lightly, you release it, and then you land again. You have to feel that you release it with the arm going up. You kind of loosen up there. You release the energy, you reset the hand, and you let gravity make your hand fall again. Yeah, so in a faster pace would be right? So as you can see, I release and then I land again and I follow with my arm. Okay, there's another passage that gives the students some trouble, which is measure 22. After you do the rotation, so close the hand, and then you kind of steer the hand for that little scale, and then you go up. There are two fingering options, which is this one. You go with the pinky, and then you go like this. But there's also this other fingering option. If your hand is big enough, you stay with 4, and then you cross here. It could be easier for some students, right? Yeah, I think it requires more lateral movements. So you can choose whichever fits your hand in a better way. So there's also something important in this, the playing of the left hand 8 notes, that let's say in measure 15 at the end, when we do this thing, try to find circular movement. I would say that would be clockwise, and then you close the hand. Same principle, you open the hand, but then you close it right away and let go. Yeah, because some students struggle and the thumb gets heavy, and that for sure interferes with the dexterity and the clarity of the sound. Then you have to let it go. And at the very end, when the piece ends, of course, in C major, we have the same thing, that we let it go. Okay, so I hope these tips are very helpful, and well, good luck with this piece. Thank you.